We talked a little bit about how a young person can get ahead or can get out of this really bad situation. But is there anything else that you want to add in terms of the youth who do feel like they're ostracized? Because I get where they're coming from. I get why they're frustrated. They also got dealt a really bad deal because they're still told in their schooling that to go to university to get skills that aren't in demand, right? Like the universities, I was thinking about this before we got on the call today. I was thinking through the subject. I was thinking through the people that I knew that related to the stories. And I just thought about their experiences in terms of they're still getting told to go to school and get like a general degree where there's no jobs for those in the first place. And even if there were jobs, they're going to go to the people who have way more experience than these kids. Right. And I'm like, what's the problem there? I'm like, well, university can't adapt fast enough for how quickly things move. And then I thought about what are the highest leverage skills that would be a natural aptitude towards kids. And that's going to be like content creation, maybe leveraging AI tools, right? Those things where they grew up with this stuff. So they're just naturally far more skilled at it. But these schools that they look at and they're told like this is what success looks like in terms of furthering education, they literally can't operate the same business model and teach those concepts effectively. It's impossible because a university, what they do is they go spend a bunch of time and money building a curriculum. They build the textbooks and then they sell that as a service with crazy margins for like the next 5 to 10 years without changing a whole lot of it. It's like rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. If you try to do that in social media, the curriculum would be obsolete in a month.
Yeah, it's tough. I've actually was just having a conversation with a young kid yesterday, and I try to continue to have conversations with young people right now. Um, and it's wild. I mean, I was supposed to graduate in 2021, so I was class of 2021 from university, and a lot of my friends since then like really struggled to get any job opportunities until maybe like this year. I think people were like doing little jobs and then getting laid off, or just like we're really struggling. And these are very qualified, very smart, very ambitious people as well. Like these
Mm,
aren't just your run of the mill graduate student or college graduates. And and then one of the worst things that I've heard, rather not the worst thing, the thing that kills me the most is like people saying, "Oh, well, this means that I need to go back to school and get a better degree."
mm,
And I'm like, "Oof, I don't know if that's going to help you." And on top of that, you're not going to go even further into debt to try and get another degree that's not going to be any more useful. So unless you're going to school for, potentially an MBA, maybe a JD, right? Or you're going to kind of become a doctor, I think it can be very questionable whether or not it makes sense to actually go for that higher level degree. Um, but anyways, the thing is that I'm seeing that a lot of really young, talented, and ambitious people are still struggling to get jobs. And I don't think that it's just because of the fact that, they're not trying hard enough. I mean, I've never heard of people doing the kind of like job searching and job application that we're seeing. I mean, like kids will
it's
send out
crazy.
hundreds of applications and get zero responses.
Yes.
And part of this has to do with the fact also that like a lot of these companies are using AI to analyze these resumes. Did you have some stuff you're going to say about that?
No, 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 100%. I was just agreeing with what you're saying. It's
Okay.
crazy how many applications these jobs get.
Yeah. And so it's like they're like making it to where you can apply without applying through a portal that an AI can analyze. And then after that, like, they're going to pick the one or two people that fit that, description and talk to them. And then it's wild what's going on right now.
But a lot of people are working hard in the wrong things, right? Like they think that, oh, I just need to apply to more jobs. It's like, no, you should probably change your approach, right? Like a lot of people, if in today's day and age, if you're struggling to get a job and you haven't started creating content about your skills, or if you haven't reached out and offered to work for free to show what you can do, or if you haven't tried to take a hiring manager out for coffee to see what they're doing, maybe see what the algorithm that they're using looks for, like it's not fair that you have to do all of that. But a lot of people who are working really hard, they're just doing the wrong thing. And so they get even further discouraged where they're walking into the same door that's closed. It's like if you go to the right and you apply that kind of effort to the right things,
Hmm.
you'll probably get results. Like I've never seen someone remain struggling if they started to document everything they're doing and proving that they're good, right? So because if you can't create content because you're afraid by that, sure. But if the reason is that because you're not good enough to make content, then maybe that's the problem why you're not getting a job in the first place, right? Like there's so many things that go into this. It's not fair how hard it is to get a job. I totally get that. But if you're doing more of the wrong thing isn't the right thing typically, right? Like you got to figure out what is the right thing to be doing.
Yeah. And then I see Nomel said, only way to get a job right now is to know someone and be likable.
Totally.
Um, I
Who you
totally
know
agree.
matters a lot.
Yeah, like, by the way, like, I just wanted to add this, like, I've never in my life well, first off, I haven't had a whole ton of jobs, but, like,
Mm.
never did I ever get a job by, like, applying online. Never. Like,
Really?
I walked into the establishment, I
Mm,
introduced myself to the person who was hiring or asked them to, let me know when they'll be around so I could shake their hand. Um, and, like, I just don't think that there's any better way to do that. Like, when I was looking for a job, even just a couple of years ago, what I did was I took my car and blessed enough to have a vehicle and a way to do this. But I took my car and I went around to businesses and I would walk in, and I'm talking about like financial institutions. Like I would just walk up in there and be like, "Hey, is anyone around? Like these are the things that I'm worried about or focused on, and here's are my skills, my qualifications, whatever. Like, would love to talk to someone." And like people are like, "Wait a minute, who is this kid? Like, what is going
yeah.
on? Like, why would you think that you could just come in here and like ask for a hiring manager?" But it's just like little things like that that I think that are gonna. I mean, there's just no other way. The way I look at it,
Yeah.
to be honest.
No, you're dead right. You gotta understand the incentives of the who can help you, right? And so, Keith, great example. You went in there, you put yourself into a minority of people that would be willing to do that. Very few people would be willing to do that. And there's so many different ways where you made a good point of you're lucky enough to have a car, but with the internet, you don't need a car to stand out, right? It could be filming that video. It could be going above and beyond that way. It could be sending them something in terms of like a who knows letter, something physical, an arrangement of whatever, right? Like you got to get creative when things get difficult. And I just think like a lot of young people are rightfully pissed because they feel like they were given a really shitty deal and then they get further dunked on by older people who are just saying like work harder. It's like,
Yeah.
well, dude, I could be doing everything that you did and I'd get like 10% of it, right?
Right. Yeah.
So it's go ahead.
Well, I was just gonna say the other thing that I always recommend to people and that I have done in the past as well is like going hard on LinkedIn with like,
Yes.
and the specific strategy that I tell people to do is let's say you happen to have a degree or something like that, or you can use this in different ways. But what I would do is I would go to my university's page, I would go to the alumni tab, and I would search in a particular keyword. Let's say something like real estate. And what I would do, kid you not, is I'd go through and I would add 30 people at a time, and I would send them a personal note. I would look at something that I may have in common with this person, point that thing out, and ask them for a 15-minute conversation for some guidance in my life or something like that, right? um, when you can you want to find the things that connect you to the people that you're trying to reach out to, and online, as you mentioned, like you can do that a lot more effectively because you can actually see their entire CV, you can see their entire interests, you can see what organizations they volunteer with, what they sit on the board of, and kind of develop an idea of like what these people are all about. And what I didn't have at that time was AI, so you can also use AI to craft a message or give it the information of who this person is and say, how can I get this person to pay attention to my message? So anyways, that's another really powerful way is to like just find the interlinking connections that you have with these people. And LinkedIn is super, super powerful for stuff like that too.
That's gold, man. If you're listening to this and you're struggling to get a job, don't skip past that. That's so, so powerful because humans crave connections. And much like we said before, like you going in, creating that connection makes people so much more likely to give you an opportunity because until there's been some sort of feeling created, you're just words on a screen or numbers on a page. Like people don't have that connection to you. So if you don't manufacture it, it's really difficult to do. And we have another comment here where they're saying about how these kids didn't they only grew up online, so they don't have the people skills, and that's dead right. Like they just simply don't. And it's one of those things where they need to develop them and they weren't given the opportunities to just develop it naturally. So it's going to be incredibly uncomfortable, which sucks, right? Because it's going to be so foreign. It's like when you put on weight, right? The longer that you go, the more weight that you put on, starting it becomes increasingly more difficult. And so that's the situation that they're faced with is that they do need to try to develop these skills. That's probably a huge emerging market is like teaching social skills to the younger generation.
Wow. Didn't really think about that, but you definitely see it already too. There's like a lot of big influencers that are in that space. And I mean, it's always been a need for sure, but I do think that you could see that becoming more and more of a thing. Um, like just as an example, there's a lot of young people on YouTube who like teach young men how to talk to young women.
Mhm.
And like that's kind of become a very, very big thing now. Um,
Huge.
and it's wild. There's this whole industry there. I'm sure it's like a billion-dollar industry, of just trying to teach people these very basic social skills. And it's a real thing. We haven't always been in this place where that social interaction wasn't a big part of our life. So anyone who was in high school, I would say around 2020 and younger than that, you know, it's a whole different kind of world that they're moving through regarding social interaction.
Does anything come to mind in terms of resources or things that they could do to try to start getting better at this stuff? Because I think they're so far removed from it that, like, they're ignorant to their own ignorance of what that looks like, because when they go around their peers, they're all like that too. And so the unfortunate part is that your peers are unlikely to get you a job,
Mhm.
right? Like, it's the people who did have the experiences that you didn't get that have the opportunity to give you a job. So, is there anything that comes to mind in terms of where they could start?
From a social interaction perspective, or what do you
Yeah, or just developing the skills or the confidence.
you know, this is a tough love one, but you really gotta just do it. Like, the way
Yeah.
that I did this was because I realized I had this deficiency, by the way. That's probably why I know about that whole industry, let's be clear.
Okay.
It's like, I was like, "Let me figure this out." So what I did was there was a big period of, like, maybe say 6 months of time, and this is very extreme. I'm not gonna expect anyone to do this.
Yeah.
I would, everywhere I went, say, "Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening" to every single person that passed by me. And this was crazy. Like, I promise you, I did this for about 3 to 6 months. And in that time frame, I met so many people, and I was in Miami at the time. So many people who were doing such incredible things. And also just kind of learned to communicate. I learned how to express myself. I learned how to respond, how to listen to people in a way that was just a little bit different. Because eventually, like, either that's going to be awkward for a really long time, or you're going to figure out how to not make it awkward. Because it's awkward. There were people that would, like, I would say hello to people and they would look at me like, "What is wrong with you? Are you crazy? Who do you think you are to talk to me?" And it's like, eventually you kind of just are like numb to people being that way. Cause I do this to every single person I pass by. So if that's your reaction, then that has something to do with you. And
Very.
so, anyways, it's like, I think you just got to get reps in and really put yourself in those situations. I would go out and I would just talk to people and I would talk to anyone. I would say crazy things to see how they would respond. And then
Mm,
eventually you start to learn that people aren't very intimidating, right? And sometimes there's way less to other people than you may think. And people aren't thinking as much as you think they are. And you have to kind of like go through that to realize that.
totally. Yeah, exposure therapy is very powerful, and life before technology was exposure therapy, but that doesn't exist anymore. So you've got to understand that it feeling uncomfortable is a feature, not a bug, and it's a necessity. You're going to have to go through discomfort to get to the other side and acquire the skill, but it does happen really fast. I was having this conversation with my girlfriend the other day where she's like, "I wish it was like when we were a kid where you just walk up to another kid and say, 'Hey, can I use some of your crayons and can we be friends?'" And I'm just like, it still is actually that simple.
Love it.
Like, that's the thing, right? Where everyone complicates the shit out of this. I can't tell you how many times I have just seen someone cool. Bro, the show started because of that. I literally reached out to Keith and I was just like, I like this guy. I want to be friends with this guy. He seems smart. I want to talk to him. Look where we are. Like, this is literally in practice. This is the situation. And I do that all the time. You don't have to overthink it too. I usually just go to a compliment, like something I'm
Yep.
genuinely curious about, or a compliment that I saw. It could be something that is like a unique interest of the person or something that you know they've worked hard to acquire. And so you can give them praise on that. And then it starts at the floodgates of conversation, because most people have never had an opportunity to feel interesting, or they get it very infrequently. And so if you just make someone feel interesting, people like you right away. You don't even have to say anything. So if you're afraid, if you just say the first thing, you then from there on forward only really need to ask questions. And then you'll get to a place where this person's like, I love that guy. And you're like, I didn't say anything. It happens all the time.
Yeah, and, like, to bring this back to, like, the idea of, like, trying to get a job, right? Like, here's
Yeah.
another thing that's gonna make you stand out. It's like, if you get to the point to where you're having an interview, so many kids are going into these interviews and just waiting for them to ask them questions, and it's like,
Mm,
no, like, you have someone who's potentially in a position that you might wanna be in, or at least has information that you wanna have, like, ask them questions. Like,
totally.
dig deep. Like, this is someone who could be your mentor one day. It could be, like, what an incredible opportunity, if at nothing else, to learn. So,
100%.
yeah,
That's
that
it.
that puts you sets you apart. And as someone who's trying to get to the place where I'm hiring people, it's like that's going to put you in a hole because it shows me what value you bring, right?
Great point. Yes, actually, we're in a unique position where we legitimately hire people. I've hired dozens of people over my life, and I will always reward ambition and taking a risk. And so anytime someone has done work for me where they did it under their own free will and they did actually good work for free and took that time and that risk, I'll always give them a chance. Like so here's the important distinction, right? So people hear that and they lose the nuance amidst what I'm saying. And so they say, okay, so just do any bit of free work and then I'm going to get what I want. No, you got to actually make it valuable free work. You have to do enough of it so that there's actual impact behind the free work, right? So that's the important thing. Where I've had people just throw me garbage. They did it for free, and they're like, "Why won't you do this? I worked for free." It's like your work is bad. You need to do more of it to actually become good, right? And then when you actually have done enough and you've proven yourself in the marketplace, then doors open for you. And if you're in a situation where you're really struggling, you need to become more valuable economically, right? Like you just have to be. And so if you don't have skills that are in demand, you need to go acquire them, but you can do it for free. It's not too late. In fact, you can get expedited learning way faster through AI and all these different tools that you and I didn't have when we were first learning these skills. And I saw this coming like a while ago, which is why I was like, I learned this myself. And then I went into internship programs and I saw that every company that I went to, they wanted social media experts, but we learned none of this stuff in school. And so I saw that as a glaring red flag that this was a massive problem that was coming down the line. And so I became that guy.
Mm,
And so becoming that clear point of value, and this is very prevalent in men especially, where when people describe like their friends, they usually say, he's this, here's the value that he brings to being our friend, right? Like he's the funny guy, or he's this, or he's that. And so if you're trying to change your economic situation, you need to have some sort of economic that, right? So for me, it was he's the social media guy. He's the YouTube guy. So I got thrown
mm,
into conversations and like and circles that I would never in a million years have been able to do. I've had many calls with like deca millionaires, billionaires, where I'm just some kid from Oakville, but I had a skill and I saw they would need it. And
mm,
so I did the work beforehand when no one was paying me. Even my dad was like, "Why are you doing all this work? How much money have you made?" And I'm like, "I've made $0." He's like, "Why do you keep doing it every night?" I said, "Because eventually I'm gonna have a price tag per hour that like would be crazy, right?" And so that actually came to fruition, but it was because I did so much stuff when no one was telling me to do it and no one was paying me to do it either.
mhm.